Delusional divestors. Here is the story of 3 different divestors who are completely delusional. The old divestor is the worst. Take a listen.
They're like hunters searching for meat. White meat, there's bitter and heat. It doesn't matter where it comes from.
So I just got back from visiting some family in San Diego, California, and I want to talk to the Black women who live in all white areas of San Diego, go to all white bars, hang out in all white friend groups. How is your self-esteem? Because I moved from a majority white state, Idaho, to Houston, Texas. And when I tell you, when I moved to Texas, my self-esteem was just raised through the roof. And even if you're a Black woman who prefers to date non-Black men, I feel like you would be better off dating the non-Black men in a more diverse area because they're different. It's so much different than dating a white man in an all white area. And the reason I feel this way is because my cousins and I were going to different bars in San Diego, and mind you, there's like no Black like clubs or bars or just places that are mixed. It was just very majority white everywhere we went. And the men are not kind. Like, the white men are not checking for y'all there. They are absolutely not checking for you. Like, if you do not fit that standard, if you don't have the loose hair, the light skin, and not that I was checking for anyone, I have a boyfriend, but I was just visualizing the room and seeing how the men moved when it came to Black women. They bump into you, they're very rude, they are not buying drinks, they're not even offering conversation, they're not making eye contact, like, you're literally invisible. I was telling my cousins that, I'm like, I feel like we're invisible tonight. So yeah, if you're a Black woman living in an all-white area, I need you to go ahead and move, or at least just make effort to have Black friend groups or hang out in spaces that are diverse, because the white men that you're going to meet there, if that's what you're into, they're going to be a little bit more cultured, a little bit more seasoned.
I saw this comment that happened to be filtered by TikTok that said, F me and F my ex-husband. Why is that exactly? Why exactly? Because that person who happened to be Black committed a crime and had to go to jail for it? That doesn't take away from the fact that my brother, my dad, my sons, they all date white people. Would you say that to them? Does it not matter that the guy was, in fact, truly guilty? His color didn't have anything to do with it. And so I always love comments like that, so to speak, because it doesn't speak to anything except for a closed-minded viewpoint. Again, I have fought very hard and diligently for my community, but I'm not going to do it out of blind faith when, what am I supposed to do? A blatant crime gets enacted in front of me, which has happened, or around me, and because I am of the same ethnicity and race, I'm supposed to just turn a blind eye? What sense does that make? If we are trying to elevate, if we are trying to be better people, if we're trying to build better communities, if we're trying to build legitimacy, if we're trying to do all these things, why are we going to openly encourage and ignore? And I know you can, listen here, throw all the statistics and shit at me that you want about what makes Black communities the way that they are and things like that. I get it and I know it. And I've been doing my work around it. And all of you that want to throw this racist bullshit at me, take it somewhere else and level the hell up. You freaking cowards. What's the point in me trying to do things to make sure that my dad's protected, my brothers are protected, when I have men out there like you talking shit? Grow up. Can't you do better? Of course you can. Will you? I don't know. Come on. I am so sad to say that you're 100% right. And there are a few reasons for that. Don't shoot the messenger, but I've had this happen enough in many years of my life. I have had a lot of whitey women approaching me when they see my children, and they're all excited, like, oh, guess what? I have mixed kids too. Long ago, the idea of having biracial children, and even to this day, people see this as a novelty and not the fact that you are bringing into this world beautiful human beings. On top of that, the terrible messaging that came from baby boomers and beyond to my particular generation, Gen X, never resolved or dealt with the issues that we are still dealing with to this day. I was just talking to my brother. Our dad grew up in the Jim Crow era. I grew up in the era of civil rights. even as late as 1990, former President Bush vetoed legislation that would protect people of color from discrimination in the workplace. These problems have been going on for a really long time, and people tend to think it's longer than it has been because we've gone from black and white to color in every way you want to figure that to be. So when it comes to our children, it's no surprise that the parents do not take into consideration the vast amount of responsibility that they have to make our world better. So then that way our children who happen to be of multiple races has an ability to be safe in this world. And I promise you, they can't be safe unless I'm safe. Nobody really understands the vast responsibility that they have. But one of the things I'll say is I do. I've fought these battles on both sides of the coin. And the thing is that I know my children don't understand that nor realize the vast amount of fighting I've had to do. And the thing is that they shouldn't have to because it's not their fault. And it shouldn't be my fault either that I brought these children into the world. But we need people to start taking responsibility for their anti-blackness, because as long as that continues, our children, my children, and my grandchildren will continue to suffer. You ignore my woes and the world suffers. And all I'm here is for love. And I've been living with lack of love. The generations to come will still suffer until people, especially my generation, they stand up and they start to make things right. Stop letting the younger generation have to fight these battles. There's a lot of work to be done.
The Diana Rossification of the black family is a very real thing.
This video hits me on so many different levels. And if I were honest, it speaks to the core of something that I've struggled with my entire life and not had anyone to talk to about it. In my early posts here on this platform, I talked about some experiences that I had, and I got a just influx of hateful messages. So I do want to tread carefully, yet this is my experience, and it's real. So huge, where do I start? When I was a young lady, I had a certain type I was looking for, but they weren't looking for me. It left me saddened and disheartened, but I was looking for love, so I opened up my perspective, if you will. The thing is that I knew that if I did, I might not have a child that looks like me. And not only did I not, but I had 3 children who don't look like me. That led to a lot of problems in life that were not able to be openly articulated because either people didn't want to have the conversation, they wanted to be in denial, or they wanted to continue their microaggressions and overt aggressions, discriminatory behavior, and racial bias. Additionally, I was in that difficult position because I found myself in a profession where there weren't many who looked like me. I spoke in a certain manner, which supposedly didn't attribute to my supposed community, and I had varying interests, which I thought were unique to me. Notice how delicate I'm trying to be about this? But being that delicate opened me up to such distinct, harsh criticism, not only from family, but from supposed friends and the community at large, including the world. I found myself alone, having to not only go through great lengths to protect my children from these micro and not so microaggressions towards them because of their racial makeup from both, but then I needed to have that protection for myself, and I was the only one that was doing that. And it was not out of the realm of possibility that I might feel a level of regret, knowing that one generation away, and it could wipe out any semblance of my background and my racial makeup. So while I wasn't being protected by my partner, I was being criticized by people in family. I was fighting against the racial disparities in the world while still trying to be a well-rounded, loving, affectionate, and protective mother to my children. It also yielded a different sort of challenge that not many people, especially of my generation, were willing to talk about. Why? Because they perpetuated the problems. I've been called a bedwench. I've been called a colonizers. And interestingly enough, just like what I'm seeing perpetuated now within the dating landscape, is that Black men aren't seeking the company in a real meaningful way of Black women. And what's not being taken into consideration is that we're not only dealing with racial issues, we're dealing with gender issues. So we're not dealing with just misogyny, we're also dealing with misogynoir. And then we're still supposed to be soft and delicate and not feel alienated, ostracized, or targeted by the world. And how do you explain that to your biracial children who you're trying to bring up in this world. You don't really, or I didn't anyway, explain it to them when they were younger because I wanted them to focus on their sense of identity. Problem is that their primary sense of identity was preferable to be on this side and not this side. I didn't fit the stereotype, but that doesn't make me any less. It makes me think of this article that I read a long time ago in Essence magazine, where the article says, "Bring me home a black girl." I already had felt disheartened that black men didn't show interest towards me, and this article was talking about moms who were concerned that their sons wouldn't do the same. And there's always this negativity about what the perception is of a black woman. But here's the thing. The attitude that people have are based on stereotypes. And in addition, the attitudes that people have about black women is based on their less than perfect reaction to being mistreated by everyone, especially black men. So when a woman is searching for love and she finds someone who demonstrates that interest in seeing who she is wholly, then it makes sense that she would open up herself to that sort of love. So when my sons in their teen years told me that they were disinterested in black girls because many of them that they came across were very nice. I was a very nice person. They acknowledged that and things like that. But they said going out in the world, they didn't find many. That hurts my soul. But then at the same time, if I'm going to be honest, is a contributing factor to some of the issues that I faced, because that generation was my generation. And I could see why my sons had those problems, because those parents had problems with me without cause. So yes, I wanted my children to bring me home a black girl. And yes, I had words to say when I found out that their non-black partners used denigrating terms to my children, to my sons, or were violent towards them. To me, it was too easy for that conduct to present itself. So now what I have to understand, and just what other people have to understand, is that there are consequences on both sides, whether you stay within your racial makeup for relationship or not. And is it about race or is it about the person? I can't apologize for being angry at these people who use racial slurs against my children or were violent towards my children and allowed their family to do the same. And their father didn't stand up for them. I have to stand up for them because those are my children. But I did so at a cost. And that cost was my children going out of my life. And if you want to know something about the world, ask an intelligent black woman. She'll tell you. And she'll tell you the pains of having to be so particular about the decisions she makes in life. Because yes, everyone gets judged, but not as harshly as we do. Because especially in cases like these, one generation and your family is gone. And that's the most heartbreaking thing of it all. Because I represent a lineage of amazing, strong, beautiful women. And there's no interest in further generations to know anything about them and their struggles. Today is my youngest son's birthday. He turned 27. We are exactly 30 years apart. I've been estranged from him and my other children for a couple of years. It's because a couple years ago, I had a nervous breakdown. I bought into the concept that if you seek help and support, that you try to be gentle in your communication, that you begin asking to receive what you've been giving in return, that it would be open, welcomed, and accepted. I thought that the years of me trying to heal from my own trauma that I experienced from my family of origin, in addition to trying to heal from the betrayals of my former spouse, their father, and the betrayals that I experienced in the workplace and even within my friendship group, I thought that while doing that, it doesn't suspend the love and from what I thought I was doing, care to my family and children. I made the mistake of thinking that as they aged and grew and mature, that then our relationship could be as well. Phases, changes in life, you know. And so all that to say is that when I hit the most toughest patch in my life, I thought I would see the love, help, and support from my adult children, over 30, late 20s, and now the youngest 27, as they saw the different evolutions of what happens in life. And the cherry on top, which really isn't the cherry on top, but I'm trying to avoid doing too much trauma dumping, is that about a year and a half after my children had stopped talking to me because I had made a parental decision that they didn't like, that I get a call out of the blue from my son, and while I was listening to him, you know, trying to pseudo catch me up on his life, he announced that his gender status had changed, for which I didn't respond to well. I admit it. Partially because I didn't know what it meant, and partially because I didn't understand, and partially that I was trying to, you know, try to see if we were re-engaging in a way where he can understand that I'm a person too, not just a mother, and trying to understand that, hey, we haven't talked for a whole year because you guys misunderstood something and you don't want to talk to me about that. And so I didn't respond well, for which he called me a bigot. He told me that his father accepted it more than I did. Okay. And told me he wanted nothing to do with me ever again for the rest of his life. If anybody wants to know what I said, well, I'll just say it now. Might as well. He had announced, oh, by the way, I'm non-binary. And I said, what are you talking about? When I had a child, they said I had a son. And he insisted, no, I'm non-binary, just deal with it. And I'm like, well, I don't accept that. And because I said that, that's when everything went downhill fast. And it wasn't that I was saying I don't accept him. It's like I don't understand nor accept that he's just going to command and demand that I accept this totally life-changing decision just like that in a matter of seconds, no opportunity to process or go through any type of understanding what it means, understanding how I feel about it as a mother who fought for him for so many aspects of life of protection that is needed, which that's part of my trauma, actually, to just be cut off completely without saying, hey, let me explain to you what this means. So my baby, I know he's 27, but he's my little boy. But then he is a grown man, no longer wants me in his life, and I will respect that. So here's actually my question, if I violated that respect in that command that he wanted. Because as a mother, I'm always going to understand how difficult it is in this world to live. Life is expensive. So I sent him some money a couple of days ago, and he didn't respond. He didn't say thank you. He didn't acknowledge it. I guess I did expect that, but I don't have to like it. And I guess that mistake, in addition to me having my breakdown and all that, I did say some horrible stuff when I had a breakdown. And it was all about this concept that I saw like on another live. On another live, I saw where a woman was running this discussion saying, Black women enjoy hurting other people. That's why Black women need therapy. I didn't engage in the live, but my answer to that, being a 57-year-old woman who's been in therapy ever since she was 21 years old, is that it's not the aspect of Black women getting therapy. It's about what's being told to Black women in those therapeutic sessions. And it's about engaging with the people in her life to help her engage and work through developing healthy relationship skills. And the reality is, for a lot of us, is that we may learn these skills, we may try to implement those skills, but because people are more comfortable in their mistreatment of us, those attempts are thwarted at every turn. And so she continues to go through life feeling frustrated and disillusioned while still trying to do what she's told she's supposed to do. Which, if you think about it, why would she need it in the first place if people were treating her right in the first place? That's to unpack for another time. So happy birthday to my 27-year-old son. I love him just like I love my other children. That will never change, even though I broke down at the burden of having to be the ultimate strong woman. And I know that sounds like a woe is me, and it's not meant to. It's just the reality that I know that I, as well as other parents, that I'm learning now people are actually starting to talk about it. We get judged so harshly from the younger generation, and they're judging us, not recognizing that we are and were dealing with the perils of life that you are all living with now. And some of us have tried to educate and inform and create structures to help you understand what you didn't understand. And we did that because many of us didn't have parents who could do it either. So I hope generations will get it right in the future at some point. But until then, happy birthday to my little love.
They're like hunters searching for meat. White meat, this babes are in heat. It doesn't